Are you too good at playing bass? Fed up with how easy it is to learn any song you like? If you're one of the thousands of bassists affected by accidentally sensational syndrome, don't worry, I can help. With my proprietary 10-step fuck-up method, you can systematically fuck your playing in no time, guaranteed. Following my exact method, you can be sure that songs will be harder than ever to perform, plucking and fretting will lead to lifelong debilitating injuries, you may even achieve perpetual loneliness and failure. So don't worry, Buzz Lawman has got your back. I'll prove to you this really works by taking one of the most perfect bass lines of all time, Good Times by Chic, and using my method, it'll be so awful they'll have to change the name to Bad Times. Thanks, Buzz Lawman, and this first step of his fuck-up method alone will instantly make anything you play sound worse and more newbie. Check it out. Here's Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. John Deacon actually wrote this track with inspiration from Good Times, and he slays the funky bass on it. But with one simple tweak, it's utterly fucked. The funk is dead as disco. So what's going on here? It's fuck-up method step number 1, lazy note lengths. I've heard so many creative ways to ruin the note length on this riff from past fuck-up method users. Not Josh in Florida even tried making all the notes long. What a champ. Now you might think, there's no way I can make a fuck-up like this, it's so simple that my flawless technique would get in the way. But fear not, with this 3-step awareness builder, you're guaranteed to nail lazy lengths. Step 1, record yourself playing along with a riff. Then step 2, listen back carefully, muting your own track on and off and comparing it to the original bass. And step 3, analyze. If you hear your notes ending when the originals sustain, or vice versa, congrats, you've got yourself a note length fuck-up. And if for some bizarre reason you want to fix this or any other fuck-ups, there's a free PDF full of resources to dive deeper. But now, let's apply this fuck-up to Good Times. And it's at best medium times. You might be wondering how I became the world's most renowned expert in bad bass playing. Well, in decades of intense research, I've had to recreate common mistakes for teaching purposes. In doing so, I've discovered every possible fuck-up that can make you sound bad on bass. I'm certified in rushing, dragging, rattling, ringing, buzzing, rattle buzzing, ring buzzing. Yeah, this guy's legit. Cause step 2 is a subtle technique that can swiftly turn all your notes to fucking shit. Here's Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Duff McKagan plays one of the most iconic bass solos in rock and roll. But with one tiny technique misfire, it becomes this hot mess. So how do you beef a meaty solo this hard? Yes, it's fuck-up step number 2, bad buzz. The dark side of bass buzz. This buzz comes from pressing down on the wrong side of the frets. So instead of aiming for the middle to the end of the fret, which any sane person would do for clean notes, you scoot the finger back to the top of the fret, creating maximal buzz and the most wasted effort. If your listeners are actually able to tell what riff you're playing, this fuck-up will help turn it into an unrecognizable mess. And you'll know you're doing this wrong correctly if every time you pluck a note, you hear the metallic sound of it rattling against the fret. Let's throw some bad buzz onto our already f***ed note lengths and see what happens to Good Times. We're well on our way. But there's one thing I didn't tell you about. An outside influence that might keep you from getting the buzz you're looking for. See, on certain basses, it's almost impossible to sound bad. Almost like they've been designed to sound good, which is bad. But there's one thing you can do to get your bass on the side of f***ups that makes even the most professional bass technique sound like this. So how can you achieve this effortless garbage? With fuck-up step number 3, sucky setup. Your bass's setup refers mainly to how far the strings are from the fretboard. And there are 2 ways to make your setup suck so bad you automatically f*** your playing. 1, have the strings really far from the neck by loosening the truss rod and raising the bridge saddles to high heaven. This makes the bass really hard to play, optimizing your possible mistakes per note. But my preferred method for foolproof fuck-ups is to have the strings too close to the neck, with an over-tight truss rod and sunken bridge saddles. And now the strings are flopping around on the neck so much that even Victor Wooten couldn't make this bass sound good. Okay, that actually sounds pretty cool. Bad example. Luckily, you're not Victor Wooten, and neither am I. A good sounding bass will measure the bottom of the E string about 2 to 3 millimeters away from the top of the 12th fret wire. So go way higher than that for impossible playability, and way lower for floppy strings of doom. See the PDF in the description for more detailed resources on this and all the remaining f**k-up steps. Frankly, floppy strings of doom are so powerful, we can wreck good times without even using lazy lengths. Terrible. But hey, it's the shoddy carpenter who can only blame his tools. You want to be the carpenter who sucks, even on the inside. And step 4 gives you the power to make any bass sound bad. Here's Deantown by Wolfpack. Joe Dart, as usual, is playing bass way too good. Let me give you a lesson in bad playing, Joe. Here's the power of step 4. What is this wanktastic wizardry? It's f**k-up step number 4, awful attack. Your attack is how you attack the strings of the bass, whether you pluck hard, or soft, or gentle but firm. As you gain bass experience, you'll tend to find a happy medium of plucking intensity that works for most songs. But we need to recapture the easeful f**k-ups of your beginner days and start plucking only farts and whispers. See, when you pluck too hard, it sounds like this, like a fart. Like if a bass could fart, I think. And if you pluck like this, it sounds like a whisper and you can barely hear it, which sounds bad in its own special way. The whisper technique was pioneered by guitarist Brett McKegney of the band Flight of the Conchords.
I can hardly hear it. You have to be deaf to hear that.
To truly master awful attack, you'll want to take Josh's in-depth beginner to badass course over at BassBuzz.com. He covers the entire 10-step f**k-up method and many more ways to wreck your playing, plus the fundamentals of music theory, which you should ignore to avoid any unwanted improvement, and how to improvise your own bass lines so you can get kicked out of Guitar Center without even needing to play Stairway. Put together all 4 of our f**k-ups so far, and Good Times is on its last legs. Yeah, sounds pretty shit now. But the next couple f**k-up steps will make it feel terrible too. Cause playing isn't just about how you sound, it's also about how much you're suffering. What do all these bassists have in common? Look at how the bass is resting on their body. High enough to reach all the notes with their fretting hand, held firmly in position by a strap, keeping the hands free to play. Disgusting. We can quickly solve this with f**k-up number 5, strap and release. A strap is considered an essential piece of bass gear. When sitting, it holds the bass stable to keep the hands from gripping the instrument and compromising technique. When standing, it keeps it close enough to actually play. So get rid of it. Now the wobbliness of the bass will force you to hold it stable with your hands, tainting your technique and causing excess tension. Whoa! If you play standing, you'll be forced to wear a strap, but if you wear it low enough, the notes will be so far from your face, you'll make even more mistakes. Unfortunately, this will make you look cooler, which will not help you lose any gigs, which is why all these f**k-ups should be used in conjunction with each other. And ditching the strap leads us straight into the next f**k-up, which can take an easy song you love to play and make it a repetitive stress injury waiting to happen. What changed? It's f**k-up number 6, wrist wrecker. Keeping your wrists overly bent or stiff is a reliable way to create chronic injuries that's been tested by musicians for hundreds of years. Beginner bassists often overbend and stiffen up as they struggle to acclimate to a new instrument and set of techniques. But anyone can leverage this f**k-up. Simply add more bend to the wrists and keep it there until something hurts. For advanced players, you can even lean over and twist your spine while you're at it. And with bent wrists and no strap, you might not even make it through Good Times alive. Ow. Now it's time for the heavy hitters, the f**k-ups many people are making without realizing, but soon you'll be making and realizing. And this 7th one I have special expertise in because I made it for like 10 years without even noticing. Check it out, here's The Trooper by Iron Maiden. Steve Harris is one of the GOATs, the goatiest of all time. His signature clacky, galloping plucks are the foundation of Maiden's sound. But by impishly turning just one knob, I think Eddie ate Steve's bass. What happened? Yes, it's f**k-up number 7, atonal. You know, like bass tone, but like atone, never mind. Bass tone has the power to get people dancing with thumpy low end, while sending the singing high end to their ear holes. It also has the power to sound like this. There are countless thrilling ways to wreck your tone. Make it boomy and indistinct with more bass and less treble. Or flip that around and make it brittle and thin like a Iggy Pop. I had no idea this fuck-up even existed. For 10 years, I played bass oblivious to the mysteries of bass tone, largely because I only had one bass and one amp, and there's only so much I could do with it. And this next fuck-up could have spared me all those wasted years of actually improving on bass. Can you spot what's wrong with this bass line? Or this one? That's right, there isn't one. Why isn't there one? Because the bass player was at home browsing Sweetwater. Yeah, it's fuck-up step number 8, get gas. Like gear acquisition syndrome. Let's face it, practicing bass sucks, because it makes you notice the things you're not good at, and then get better at them. But with the power of online shopping, you don't have to be burdened by learning the gear you already have. You can just keep buying more. How do you know if you're maximizing gas to fuck up your playing? With this simple checklist. Is your Reverb shopping cart more densely populated than your practice journal? Do you know 5 songs but own 10 basses? Are you spending more thousands of dollars and less thousands of hours? Now I know what you're saying. Buzz Lawman, I'm not sure your method works. My Good Times cover is still a good time. I sure hope the remaining steps will convince me this was worth my money, but you are very handsome. Well, thank you for that, but this is no time for compliments, because without step 9, we've missed a whole dimension of fuck-uppery. Here's Killing in the Name by Ratum. Tim Comerford is an obscenely badass bassist, and plays this riff with perfect heaviosity. But make one simple tweak to his original performance, and this riff is killed. In the name of. Using the brutal power of fuck-up step number 9, rush and drag. Good sounding music has the bass and drums synced up tight. But if you get overexcited, you can rush ahead of the drums, causing audience anxiety attacks. Then get lazy, and you'll drag behind, putting everyone in a sluggish purple haze. To nail the rush and drag, you must lose the basic pulse of the music. So start with a simple, consistent rhythm where you can fully focus on how your notes land with the drums. Once you can lock every note on a kick or snare, you know exactly how to avoid them in your quest to f*** your playing. Then you should try more complex rhythms, like one you're practicing for a song. Use a beat ruler to map the rhythms, which I cover in depth in Beginner to Badass. Find exactly where each note is supposed to live in the groove, and then evict them from their homes. And if we rush and drag the hell out of the Good Times bass line, sounds pretty bad. Layer in some lazy lengths and bad tone, and we're almost at full-on bad times. But you still need the one crowning jewel of my 10-step fuck-up method, the level beyond which no human will be able to stand you playing. Not even your mother. Yes, it's time for fuck-up step number 10, go all out. See, in my extensive research, I discovered that jazz musicians use the word out to refer to notes that aren't conventionally considered to fit within the confines of the established harmony. In simple terms, the wrong fucking notes. And while skilled jazz musicians go out in order to artfully come back in, we can use their jazzy wisdom to fuck our playing one final time and just play the wrong fucking notes. Cause now it's the moment you've been waiting for. The pinnacle of human bass fuck-up achievement. The culmination of the 10-step fuck-up method. The transformation of good times to bad times using all 10 fuck-ups. Let's do this. You'll need a way to practice all your new fuck-ups. So click here to watch the Practice This Daily video, which will give you a 10-minute routine with ample material to master these techniques. Ample. Ample. Ample.